So today I want to show you these little trinket trays that I've been making, just to throw your rings or whatever in there. I wanted to show you how I finish these mostly with papers and how you can pattern them. I have a number of YouTube videos showing how I use papers and fabrics to pattern things. But in case you haven't seen any of those, I thought I would make another one. Or if you just want to paint them, this one's a little rough. I just kind of quickly did it. But if you want to just paint them, I would recommend pre-painting your board. And I just use chalk paint, get a really nice coverage, and then I will sand this with a really fine grit sanding block, so that my surface is very smooth. And depending on which laser I'm going to score and engrave and cut on, I will mask this. Like on a Glowforge, I definitely mask it because I get a lot more, residue, and it's much cleaner on the Thunder. I probably wouldn't mask it on the Thunder, but on my Glowforge I will. And it will end up being perfect. Your letters will still show nicely, and this part was engraved, this part was scored, and it's smooth and it's perfect. So, but if I want to use, maybe I'll work on this one. Let's say I wanted to pattern the backing piece and the top frame piece. So maybe I'll just work with this one and I'll leave this painted, but maybe I want a pattern for that top border. I love using polka dots, so I don't know if I have a piece. I don't think that's big enough, but okay, so I will find something to do with this one, and also maybe I'll work with this one. So this I already patterned. It's a little rough. I just kind of threw it together to see how I liked these patterns. But what typically I will do is cut the set, and then I can use the pieces as a template to see how big paper or fabric I need. So, okay. When you're choosing your papers, for this bottom piece, you're going to want something not too patterned, because obviously if it's really busy, you're not really going to see your lettering and your graphics very well. So you want to use something that's a little subtle. I grabbed a stack of papers. So something like this would work. It's got a pattern, but it's not really busy. I have, a lot of heavily patterned papers, and I love these, and I would use these for a border, but you're not going to get a lot because these areas are so thin. So obviously you want to use something with a much smaller pattern. Let's see what I have. Like this paper I love, but it really isn't going to work very well because I'm not going to get too much of that. So let's choose something different. Okay. So maybe for this one, because it's kind of a girly, we'll go with, this will probably work really well for that top. Okay. So I'm going to use this one and maybe this yellow. Let's try that. I also love using fabric. The only problem with fabric on this is because obviously it's a texture. When this is patterned, these pieces, these daisy pieces that I would want to paint, they're going to be a little more textured. They're not going to be really super flat, so that would probably bother me. So I don't think I'm going to use fabric. So let's go ahead and pattern. We're just going to pattern the top border piece. I'm going to use this as a template. Just cut a piece that's slightly larger than what you're cutting. So that, and because the backer is the exact same size, I can use this same one. Okay. So actually, you know what? I think I did enlarge this file a little bit from when, after I made this sample. So I'm going to cut my pieces a little bit bigger just in case. Okay. So to adhere these swatches of paper to my, this is MDF, so it works really well. I'm sure it would work just as easily on wood, but I'm going to use this MDF. I use Mod Podge gloss, and there's a reason why I use the gloss. I'll go over that in a minute, but so I'm just going to apply a pretty liberal amount to my board. You want to use enough that you get really good coverage, but you don't want a ton of excess. So that's good. And then I usually just use my hands, but you can use a credit card, or if you have a bone folder, those work perfectly. Or really even just a piece of wood or a credit card, anything that you can just really smooth this out. You don't want to have any air bubbles or any excess Mod Podge underneath. And then once I have it really flat, I'm going to apply a thin layer on the top as well. And that's where this gloss version works really well. That thin layer, it's kind of providing like a barrier. So when you cut this on the laser, this thin layer on top makes it really easy to just wipe away any residue that you get from the laser. It just makes it super easy. I'll show you that after I cut it. Just a really thin layer. And again, just to smooth it out. Make sure you don't have any bubbles. And that it's nice and flat. That's perfect. Oops. I'm gonna go ahead and do the next piece. These pieces are much bigger than I need, but that's okay. All right, just gonna go in. Again, make sure it's nice and flat. So I'm gonna let this dry. I really only give it maybe 5-10 minutes and make sure it's nice and dry, everything's flat. I'm gonna return to my dashboard on my Glowforge, and I'm going to take these pieces that I would normally just cut on regular wood or MDF, and I'm gonna place these sections on the patterned areas. And then just cut like normal. You don't need to change your settings or anything. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll come back and show you the result. Okay, so it's finished engraving and scoring. So I forgot to wait, and I went ahead and wiped this one clean. I had a lot of residue on there, but this one I didn't. So just to show you how that layer of gloss, Mod Podge gloss, just makes it really easy. You want to do it quickly though, because it is paper, even though it's got that layer on it, and it can affect your paper if you're not really nice and quick with it. You don't want to really saturate it either. Just kind of wipe quickly and clean up those edges. So that worked perfectly. I think that's really cute pattern combination. So these would just get all glued together. I think this was the old size. I did cut these. I just don't know what I did with them. Hang on one second. I'm gonna go find what I did with those extra, oh wait, no. Okay, one sec. Okay, I found them. That's what happens when I change a file around and get a little disorganized. So you're just going to layer these extra pieces. I put 2 in the file, but if you want it even deeper, you could cut an extra one. And these are just gonna get all glued together, and they'll line up perfectly. Okay, so I used 1/8 inch because that's what I have. I didn't have any 1/4 inch. If you're using 1/4 inch, obviously you only have to cut your backer and 1, maybe 2 pieces, depending on how thick you want it. But the 1/8 inch, I had to cut 4 total. Okay, so I would glue these all together, and if I have any gaps on the side where they don't line up perfect, or I just want to fill this in a little, you can use like a furniture repair kit. They have a really nice dark brown, or and I bought those on Amazon. It's a set of, it's not really wood filler, but it's just kind of like a marker. Or you can use a dark brown Sharpie, or, but if you line these up perfectly, you shouldn't have any, you know, little like light brown pieces showing. Okay, so I would glue this all together, and then I'm going to paint these daisies white, and I would use a white Posca marker for that. I just think that the white Posca markers have such a nice high pigmentation that they'll show up even on top of this pattern paper. Okay. This one's a little old. These are Posca pens. They're really good for coverage, and especially the white is my favorite. So I would just go in and probably have to do a couple of layers on here. I'm not going to paint the whole thing. I just wanted to show you. I'll take pictures of it when I finish it for my listing. But just wanted to give you an idea if I can get this one done quickly. Sometimes I push down on the nib and just like flood my area to get a lot of color in there. You have to be careful when you do that though, because you can mess up your piece if it really floods a lot. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I will go and finish this. It's going to need 2 coats because it has that pattern there. I'll do a different color for the center, and that's really about it. That's this one. I'm gonna go ahead and probably do a couple of these others. This one, maybe I'll quickly show you a couple of little painting tips. I didn't do the best job on this. I was just quickly doing it, but what I will show you, because a lot of people ask me about this, let me grab these chalks. I use a lot of different products for shading in the center. I think it gives your painting a lot of depth and just makes it a little bit more interesting. So these are chalk pastels. I use oil pastels. I use Tombow markers. Just anything that's going to give me this color that I want. And sometimes if I don't have the color I want, which I don't have it in this set, I'm just going to create my own colors. I don't ever use this right on my piece. I put it on just like a piece of parchment paper or my board. I'm just doing a lot of different colors to try to create like a deep pink. Doesn't have to be exact. And I use my fingers. So that's super orangey, but I know if I pull in a little more of this red, close enough. So just to show you, I would do this as I was painting it and just rub it in the center. And you're just giving it a little bit more texture and depth to your painting. You can always get a baby wipe and wipe it away if you've used too much or you don't like how the color that you used. A baby wipe will pretty much take it off. So that's just one thing. I think that's about it. I'm gonna go and finish a lot of these using some different papers and fabrics, and I will have these all up on my Etsy shop. But that just gives you an idea of how you can use some papers to pattern your pieces.